Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Law in Motion. Did you know that a single court ruling redefined the meaning of freedom in India? A judgment that not only changed laws but altered the lives of millions. This is the story of how one landmark case, Navtej Singh Johar vs. Union of India, transformed the future of LGBTQ+ rights in India forever. From the shadow of a colonial era law to the dawn of a new era, this case wasn't just about the constitution, it was about humanity, dignity, and the right to love freely. For over 150 years, India's LGBTQ+ community lived under the shadow of Section 377, a colonial-era law that criminalized unnatural sexual acts. These vague and archaic words didn't just criminalize certain acts, they targeted an entire community, forcing millions to live in fear and secrecy. Section 377 became a tool of oppression, wielded to shame and stigmatize love that didn't fit the narrow definitions imposed by colonial rulers. For over 150 years, countless individuals were made to feel like criminals, not because of any wrongdoing, but simply because of who they loved. This colonial hangover haunted generations, casting a long shadow over India's constitutional promises of equality and dignity. But change was on the horizon. In 2018, 5 brave individuals stood up to the century-old law, demanding that their identities and love be respected. Navtej Singh Johar, Sunil Mehra, Ritu Dalmia, Aman Nath, and Aisha Kapoor, each one a symbol of resilience, decided to challenge the injustice of Section 377 in India's highest court. These 5 individuals weren't just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for millions. They decided it was time to take a stand, to remind the world that love is never a crime. This wasn't just about a law, it was about reclaiming their dignity, their humanity, and the right to live freely in their own country. Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code was vague, and that's exactly what made it so dangerous. It didn't clearly define what unnatural acts meant. Instead, it was used as a tool to target and criminalize the LGBTQ+ community for simply being who they are. Imagine this for a moment, 2 adults, fully consenting, in love. But because of a law from 1861, their relationship was considered a crime. That's what Section 377 did, it didn't just criminalize actions, it criminalized love itself. Sounds simple, right? Should love between consenting adults really be a crime? But the truth is, this case was about far more than just legal jargon. It was about the most basic human rights, dignity, identity, and the freedom to live authentically. Imagine being told that who you are is wrong. That you don't have the right to love or express your identity freely. Section 377 did just that, forcing millions to hide in the shadows for fear of punishment. But the Navtej Singh Johar case wasn't just about legal technicalities. It was about giving people back their voice, their right to live freely, and to love without fear. The Supreme Court had to answer a fundamental question. Does a law that punishes love belong in modern India? The petitioners weren't just fighting for a law to change, they were fighting for their lives. Navtej Singh Johar, a Bharatnatyam dancer, and Sunil Mehra, a journalist, had been partners for over 2 decades. For 20 years, they shared love, laughter, and dreams. But there was one thing they couldn't share with the world, their relationship. Yet, their love was illegal. Every day, they lived under the constant fear of being prosecuted, not for any crime, but simply for being who they were. Imagine being told that your love is a crime. That the person you hold dearest could be the reason for your imprisonment. This wasn't just their story. This was the reality for millions of LGBTQ+ Indians, living in the shadows, hiding their identities, while the law stood against them. But Navtej and Sunil refused to stay silent. They weren't just fighting for their right to love, they were fighting for the rights of millions. They took their battle to the Supreme Court, not just for themselves, but for every LGBTQ+ person in India. This wasn't just a legal battle. It was a fight for dignity, for love, and for the right to exist without fear. Because when your very existence is seen as a crime, what choice do you have but to fight? The hearings were intense, charged with emotion and legal arguments that would define the future of millions of LGBTQ+ Indians. On one side, the government stood firm, defending Section 377, a law that they claimed upheld societal morality.
Section 377 serves a greater purpose. It reflects the cultural and moral values of this nation, a protection of societal order.
But on the other side, the petitioners argued for their fundamental rights. Their plea was simple: how could love between consenting adults be criminal? Section 377, they said, was a violation of the most basic rights enshrined in the Constitution.
Your Lordships, this case is about dignity. Section 377 violates the right to equality, the right to live freely, and, above all, the right to privacy. The law cannot intrude into the private lives of consenting adults.
The debate wasn't just about legal principles, it was about identity, freedom, and dignity. As the courtroom buzzed with anticipation, one voice broke through with profound clarity.
History owes an apology to members of the LGBT community and their families, for the delay in providing redressal for the ignominy and ostracism that they have suffered through the centuries.
In that moment, it was clear, this was just a legal battle. This was a fight for the soul of a nation. A battle for the right to love, the right to exist, and the right to live with dignity. And with these words, India took a monumental step forward. The walls built by centuries of prejudice began to crumble as the highest court in the land declared, "Love is love, and no law can stand in its way." When the Supreme Court ruled in favor of decriminalizing Section 377, it didn't just change a law. It affirmed something deeper, that every LGBTQ+ individual in India deserves the same rights as everyone else. The right to love, the right to live freely, the right to exist without fear. For decades, the LGBTQ+ community had lived in the shadows, their identities forced into secrecy. But on that historic day in September 2018, a wall came down, a wall built on centuries of stigma and discrimination.
That day, we didn't just win in court. We won our right to be seen and heard. It felt like, for the first time, India acknowledged us as equals.
For so long, we were afraid to just exist as ourselves. Now, we can finally live openly, without fear.
Today, the Navtej Singh Johar judgment stands as a beacon of hope, not just for the LGBTQ+ community, but for India as a whole. It's a reminder that our constitution is alive, that it grows with us and our evolving understanding of equality. This ruling paved the way for broader conversations about LGBTQ+ rights, including marriage equality, adoption rights, and anti-discrimination protections in workplaces. It wasn't just a legal victory, it was the beginning of a new chapter in the fight for equality. But this journey isn't over. While the battle for decriminalization was won, the fight for full equality continues. Conversations around same-sex marriage and adoption rights are already being had, and this case opened the door for many more. The road ahead is long, but with each step, we move closer to a truly equal society. Ultimately, Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India wasn't just about striking down a law. It was about recognizing the humanity in each of us. It was about justice, dignity, and, most importantly, hope. Because when one community wins its rights, it lights the path for others to follow. So what would you have done if you were on that bench? Could you have ruled differently? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India was more than just a legal victory. It was a victory of human rights over centuries of injustice. It's a case that reminds us that the fight for equality is never truly over, but every win gets us one step closer. The Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India judgment stands as a landmark ruling that reshaped India's constitutional framework concerning individual rights. The Supreme Court's decision to decriminalize Section 377 hinged on fundamental rights enshrined in the Indian Constitution, particularly Articles 14, 15, 19, and 21. The court held that criminalizing consensual relationships between adults violated the rights to equality, freedom of expression, and, most crucially, the right to privacy and dignity. This ruling established that laws cannot perpetuate discrimination or infringe on the personal freedoms of individuals based on their sexual orientation. It reaffirmed that the Constitution is a living document, evolving with societal progress, and that legal statutes rooted in archaic morality must yield to the principles of justice, equality, and human dignity. 3 key takeaways every law student should remember. Equality before the law must be absolute. The Constitution protects individual dignity, and most importantly, legal systems must evolve with the times. And in our next video, we'll dive into another landmark case, the Sabarimala Temple judgment. Stay tuned to learn how the Supreme Court's decision on gender equality sparked a nationwide debate. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got more amazing legal stories like this one coming your way on Law in Motion. And don't forget to drop a comment below. What do you think about the court's decision? Remember, justice isn't just a word, it's a story, and we're here to tell it.